Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my opinion on the top 10 greatest Kershaw folding knives of all time. Now, there's no way to do this list without making some people mad, so just understand this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. This is based on stuff that I have actually handled, used, and reviewed on this channel. I will link everything that is currently available right down in the description. Not everything on this list is available, but most of it is. So if you want to check it out, you should definitely check it out because these knives are incredible, and Kershaw has done some amazing work, obviously, over the years. I think their best work is all most recently here within the last 2 to 3 years, so I can't wait to share with you guys what I think. If you want to skip the intro, here's where the list starts, but I'd like to start off by saying that a couple of knives, honestly, there's a whole bunch of knives that could make this list, and that people will say, why didn't you include this? It's crazy. You have to include knives like the Chive or the Natrix, and honestly, I don't think those are that great. It's fine if you think they're that great, right? Continue to love what you love, but they're not for me. An honorable mention that I think does kind of deserve to be brought up is like the Launch 1. That's the knife that started the Launch series, and while I do have some Launch knives on this list, not every single Launch knife is going to make it. They're all great, right? I'm sure that people say, why not this Launch? Why not that Launch? I think the Launch 1 is a good honorable mention, but not one that's actually going to make the list. I also want to point out that this list is in no particular order, but towards the end of the list, in fact, the very last one on the list, I will let you guys know is my favorite Kershaw knife of all time. So, starting off with number 10, the Kershaw Blur. This is the knife that got me started on being interested in folding knives in general, beyond just the simple kind of throwaway cutting tools that I thought they were. This is a USA-made Kershaw. This particular one is an S30V variation that I got a long time ago. You can currently still pick these knives up in 14C28N for about 75 bucks, all the way up to, I think, about $130 for Magna Cut, which is pretty cool. These are assisted knives, and a lot of people kind of cringe at that. You know, whatever. There's manual versions of Kershaw knives that you can get if you want to. The assisted feature is just that. It's an assisted feature. You push the lever and it flips the blade out. This is still an incredible knife, and Kershaw has some of the only assisted knives left that I would recommend. I mean, they are legitimately just that good, and the Blur is absolutely one of those knives. Moving on here, a newer one, number 9, the Kershaw Bel Air, also a USA-made knife. This is kind of like their bug out, and it works really, really well. Lightweight, compact, fully ambidextrous. It uses their version of the axis lock, right? You have the, the mounting positions on either side for the pocket clip. Just a really, really great knife overall. If you sort by most popular on most retailers, the Bel Air is going to be near the top, and I think for good reason. I think Kershaw should probably come out with some different colors and things like that, maybe some different blade shapes, but the Bel Air is undeniably one of the best knives that they've ever created. And like I said, USA made for 150 bucks, well deserving of a spot on this list. Very, very good. Moving on here to an amazing one that I think newer people overlook because they don't know that it exists, and that's the Kershaw Link, also made in the United States. There was a time where it was very easy to get a super inexpensive version of this knife, and I think if you hunt, you still can. I can't remember what the base steel is. Wouldn't surprise me if it's 12C27 or 14C28N, but you can very easily find a US-made version of this. Well, obviously, the Link is made in the USA, but you can easily find a 20CV version of this knife for $115, making it one of the best 20CV options on the market. Yeah, the Link is assisted, whatever. It's such an amazing knife at 115 bucks. I mean, realistically, I can't imagine anyone would make this list and not put the Link on their list, right? Moving on here to number 7. That's a newer option, not USA made, but wow, is the Kershaw Iridium fantastic. This one is in D2 steel. And some gray aluminum, and we have the sort of coppery backspacer. Just a really, really great option. Kind of similar to the bug out, not exactly the same. Obviously, these do come in a wide variety of different configurations, especially when you consider the special editions. Then again, so do all Kershaw knives, I guess, right? Or all the really popular ones. But the Iridium just really, really works. It's kind of like bigger than the bug out. In fact, I can actually show you versus the bug out. It's a little bit bigger, but kind of the same idea. It just feels a lot better because the scales are a contoured aluminum versus the cheap hollowed out feeling, right? And even though it's D2, you can get a special edition in 20CV sometimes, but even though it's D2, it just feels really, really great for $65. This is made in China. If you haven't bought a Kershaw knife for a long time and you remember the old Chinese Kershaw knives as being lacking in quality, those days are gone. Kershaw's, whoever their Chinese OEM is, they do an absolutely incredible job. This is $65 well spent. Moving on here to number 6, I would be insane not to include the Kershaw Livewire. This is hands down one of the best dollar for dollar USA OTFs on the market. This one in particular is in MagnaCut. In fact, I think most of them are either in 20CV or MagnaCut now, but this is like head and shoulders better than the Microtech Ultratech. And you can buy these things for as low as $229. They are ridiculously easy to operate. They look cool. They feel cool. This one's got the PP Ultim front scale, which I really like because I can see the internals in there, right? You can see the twin springs and everything. Really cool. But you don't have to go with Ultim. You can go with whatever aluminum color you want. This is a ridiculously good OTF. It might actually be the best dollar for dollar USA dual action OTF on the market. It is very difficult to compete with the Livewire. I was absolutely shocked that Kershaw was able to do this. I have never had a failure with a Livewire. I think they're hyper reliable. These types of OTFs are substantially stronger than most people think. And if you can legally carry and own these things, they make for wonderful tools because they're about as convenient as it gets to deploy and retract. Absolutely wonderful. Kershaw Livewire, good to go. Moving on here, another one that's awesome that I actually didn't review until recently but found out I actually really like. That's the Kershaw Leek, coming in a base price of $65, by the way, made in the USA, at 14C28N for the steel, or up to $120 or so for MagnaCut. This is a steel frame. It's a steel frame lock. It's assisted, which is weird. Like, those things are kind of like not the most sought after elements in the 2024 knife market, but also, it is a really good knife. Even though it is kind of awkwardly balanced with the steel frame, it's super lightweight, compact. It's just a good all-around tool with that pointy Wharncliffe blade. And when you can get it made in USA and in MagnaCut for that money, for people who that's really important. Like a lot of people, it's just really, really important to make sure that you're buying a knife that's made in the USA, even if a couple parts here or there are outsourced. That's just a really good price. I understand why people like the Leek. For the longest time, I was like, why? It's kind of like the Chive. I looked at the Chive and I'm like, why? Why do people like this? Then I handled it and used it. And I was like, yeah, I'm right. And people who like the Chive are wrong. No, I'm just kidding. You can like what you like. But I don't like the Chive, right? The Leek was the opposite. Moving on here to number 4. This is one of the 2 Launch Series knives that are on this actual list, and that's the Kershaw Launch 20. I love how this knife looks. It is incredibly stylish. Something that's a little bit awkward about the Launch Series knives is they're all great, right? In terms of action, the quality, it's all there. The materials for the money, it's all there. Some of them are just really weird, and it doesn't work well with EDC. Some of them a little bit more stylized than they are functionally ergonomic, and many of them have just been like a little bit off base. But this one is the perfect combination of being stylish and being modern and still being 100% functional and usable. This is considered an automatic knife, not an assisted knife, meaning it is a switchblade. So if you're going to pick this knife up, you do need to check your local laws. The size, the weight, the look of this thing, the materials. MagnaCut, $144 is more than fair, considering their direct competition is easily $50 more on average with ProTech. Absolutely. The Launch Series knives are incredible. If you're like, you know what, screw your list, Metal Complex, I'm going to buy a different Launch knife, that's fine, because they're all great. In fact, I'll link Launch Series knives in general down in the description as well. But this is one of the ones that I would recommend over the other ones. Moving on here, let's talk about number 3. That's the Kershaw Knockout. What a cool knife. And it looks like such a basic, just like a nothing knife, but that sub frame lock. But this was really, really good for the time period. And there's a part of me that wishes they would bring it back, but if they do, it would be nice to get a manual version of this knife in particular. In fact, all of Kershaw's assisted stuff, I think, would actually be better if they just added a traditional detent ball and made it manual. Some of them can be de-assisted, some of them cannot. right? But I think the Knockout was fantastic for its time. You can still find them on the secondary market if you want to pay too much money, or you can still buy the Damascus one on on Blade HQ right now for I think $170 or something. But the Knockout was just really, really good. In fact, there was a time period where a lot of people considered it to be the best budget knife of all time. I don't know about that, but definitely one of the best knives that Kershaw has ever made. Kershaw, consider bringing this back, but make it manual. This would be really great, whether you bring it back in 14C28N, 20CV, MagnaCut, whatever. The Knockout is a fantastic knife. Moving on here to number 2. I would say, if I were to make an argument for the one model that Kershaw should seriously consider bringing back and making regular production again, it would be the Kershaw Bareknuckle. This is that manual knife. This is the one that I feel like a lot of people would say, this is the greatest Kershaw knife of all time, right? When you consider the dollar for dollar value, the functionality, the look, all of that. The Bareknuckle was the knife. Kershaw, I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if like a month or 6 months or a year from now, they're like, we're bringing back the Bareknuckle and we're doing something crazy with it, right? That would make sense to me. I don't know why they didn't keep this knife in regular production. They absolutely should. This is easily one of their best knives ever. I would love to see a fancy raw aluminum version of this with a coated M4 blade or something like that, or a MagnaCut blade. I really think that this would be a hyper popular knife, not just with fans of Kershaw from the past, but also current fans of Kershaw. They just do such an excellent job, and I would love to see the Bareknuckle brought up to the standards that they have clearly been holding their newest stuff up to. I think that this would translate very well. It's still one of my favorite knives of all time. It's super sad that it's so much harder to get now with it being discontinued. Finally, the number one knife, in my opinion. A lot of people say, it can't be, why not? It can't be because of this or that. Well, it's my list, right? This is my favorite Kershaw knife of all time, and I know a lot of you already know what it is. It's the Kershaw Launch 16. This is the best knife they have ever made. Now, listen, if you don't like switchblades, then that's the end of it for you. This is an automatic knife, so a lot of people are going to disagree with me right off the bat. Classic ergonomic profile, right? Classic blade profile with the Tanto definitely would be better with a drop point. I will admit if they do that, it would look almost exactly like the Les George Rockeye or the ProTech Rockeye or the Les George VECP, whatever you want to refer to it as. But it works. It works even in this form. It's incredible. Also, the value. This one is in raw aluminum. The TrackTech inserts. We have the diamond texturing in here. We have a pocket clip that can be mounted for left or right-handed carry. Left-handed people, you'll operate it with your index finger, but it's still excellent. The blade, in this case, a coated CPM M4 blade. What's the price on it? $150. Listen, there's a lot of stuff out there. I've covered a lot of stuff on this channel. If you're new to my channel, 4,500 uploads. That's how many uploads I've done, consisting of almost nothing but knives. I've handled a lot of stuff. As far as stuff that's made in the USA, yes, even with Kershaw outsourcing a part here or there, which is definitely going to be the case with any company competing at the same price point, also claiming made in the USA. Even that being the case, this is an impossible knife to compete with. Even when you consider the Chinese competition, which should be substantially less, isn't, right? You have to drop in terms of material value in order to get a substantially lower price. A lot of Chinese companies releasing knives with similar blade quality materials and handle quality materials, similar inlay work, etc., they come out to about the same price tag. Kershaw, I don't know how you guys did this. This knife is absolutely amazing. If you can own an automatic knife, if you've ever been curious about an automatic knife, this is the one to pick up. A lot of people would say if they made this thing manual, if they made this thing a crossbar lock, if they made this thing, a steel frame, I don't know about a steel frame lock, right? Probably a crossbar lock manual version of this knife, I think would go over really well with a lot of people. But either way, I'm so impressed by this knife. I think it's just insane that they were able to release this in 2024 and 2023, I think is when it came out, but only charge $150 for it. Really spectacular. This is, in my opinion, the greatest knife they've ever made. If you think it's the Bareknuckle or something else, that's perfectly fine. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this list. Like I said, I'll be linking everything down below. in the description so that you guys can check it out. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.